I certainly think, again, that people are going to move. I think, unfortunately, there will be a lot more opportunities outside the United States. Now, of course, I could be wrong, because if this collapse is a catalyst to cause America to reject socialism after years and years of embracing it and returning to its roots of free market capitalism, if we could kind of reset and start over and get rid of a lot of the government, get rid of a lot of the regulations and the taxes, and reignite that spirit of entrepreneurship and the rugged individual, right? If we can go back to a nation of individuals instead of this collective that we have now, there's no limit to what Americans can achieve, especially since we have a lot more technology today. I mean, look at what we did in the 19th century. Look at the incredible standard of living that we built, something that the world had never even seen until we showed it to them. But we did it with a lot less technology than we have today. So if capitalism could work in the 19th century, it can work even better in the 21st century. And as far as being on a gold standard, a 21st century gold standard would work a lot better than a 19th century gold standard with the internet, with blockchain. Yes, you can have a cryptocurrency backed by real money, backed by gold. That will work. A fiat cryptocurrency backed by nothing will not work. And that's why, Bitcoin hasn't succeeded as a unit of account or a medium of exchange. It's just served as a speculative token to gamble on because it can't fulfill a monetary function. But a cryptocurrency backed by gold can absolutely succeed and function as an alternative to a fiat currency. In fact, it is not just an alternative, it is superior in every way. And so if we go back to a gold standard, but with today's technology, it will work even better than it did in the past when we didn't have that technology to make gold even more effective as a monetary unit than it was. So, we can come back faster. The Chinese didn't take that long once they abandoned communism to build up, the economy they have now. China was nothing in the 1980s. And so, a generation or so, and, the standard of living improved dramatically as the Chinese, became more capitalist and less socialist. So a lot of it depends on how quickly we move away from socialism, how many regulations we repeal and how fast we repeal them, how much government spending we cut, how much lower we can make taxes, because the less government we have, the quicker the economy is going to come back, because you're going to unshackle entrepreneurship. And it won't just be Americans. The whole world will want to invest in that America. We'll be a magnet for capital if we're a magnet for freedom. So it generally takes a catastrophic event. We talked about New Zealand. The reason that New Zealand became a popular destination, the reason its markets became as free as they were, was because of how socialistic they were. And then they had an economic collapse in the 80s. And then the Labor Party, under a guy named Roger Douglas, came up with some tremendous free market reforms that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. And in fact, the very party that destroyed New Zealand is the one that liberated it from its own destruction. I mean, they were rolling back a lot of these socialist laws that they had passed. But it is funny too, if you go back and you look at an old encyclopedia from the 1970s, the socialists that used to write, the World Book or the Britannica, they held New Zealand up as this great example of the middle way. I mean, it was like a Sweden, right? It's great. They have all this socialism, they have all this prosperity, and see, this is why it's better than, pure capitalism. And of course, the whole experiment ended in disaster. It blew up. The country was bankrupt. But it was in that economic turmoil that was the kindling to reignite a capitalist return. And they rolled back all these laws and regulations and lowered taxes and went to a sounder monetary system. In fact, that's where the 2% inflation targeting came from. Except when New Zealand's central bank adopted 2%, it was a ceiling. It was like, we're going to make sure inflation stays below 2%. It was never a target that they wanted to achieve. They just wanted to stay below 2, and the further below, the better. I mean, if they were at 0.5%, nobody would say, oh my God, inflation is only 0.5%, we need more. They would be great. We're 1.5% below our ceiling. Excellent. That was the whole idea. That's where it came from. Of course, then it became perverted because it went from 2% ceiling to 2% target. And now really it's 2% floor. And we're never actually going to get anywhere near that floor again. We're going to be so far above it. So It's just the government intimidating the public, with a show of force. But also the idea that these 87,000 new IRS agents are there to get the billionaires, that's nonsense. They already have at least one, if not multiple IRS agents that is working with every billionaire in this country. There's only maybe 700 or 800 of them.
Right.
They've got those guys covered. The millionaires, they don't, at least the people that have a lot of millions, not just a house that is appraising at $1 million, but a legitimate, millionaire. I mean, they have accountants, they have lawyers, they minimize their taxes legally. They're not cheating. I mean, maybe they're cheating a little bit, but I mean, they're not going to catch them with these extra agents. These agents are going after the middle class, right? Just for the same reason that Willie Sutton robbed banks, because that's where the money is. And that's where the cheating is. The biggest tax cheats are not the rich. They don't have to cheat, right? It's the middle class. It's the self-employed. It's the guy that's got, a side hustle. It's a small business owner. They're the ones that are cheating. They can't afford the expensive lawyers and accountants. They don't qualify for all the tax breaks. The only way they can get by is to cheat. And so how do they cheat? They don't report all their income. They earn some cash, put it in their pocket, don't tell the IRS. They inflate their deductions. They claim they spent more money on business than they really did. And they don't get caught. They get away with it. And they've been doing it for years. Well, now the IRS is saying, we're coming after you, tax cheats. But it's not the rich. It's the middle class, the lower middle class. I mean, a lot of these guys that are getting paid cash, they're not rich. The billionaires and the millionaires, they're not getting paid in cash. It's the little guy who's getting paid on Venmo, or getting paid in crypto maybe, or getting paid in cash money, right? If you earn, millions or tens of millions of dollars, you're not getting that in 10s and 20s, right? It's the guy that's making 5 or 10 grand on the side. That's cash. I mean, the IRS is already the most hated agency in the U.S. And obviously, if they step up the heat on Americans, they're going to be hated even more.